A colleague of mine, his name is Corey Silverberg, he has written 2 out of a series of 3 books so far. The first is called What Makes a Baby, and it's for, I think, like 5-year-olds to 8-year-olds, and it's a discussion of how babies are made that does not incorporate gender at all. It's really incredible. It's sort of like some bodies have sperm and some bodies have eggs. And then the second book is called Sex is a Funny Word, and it's meant for, I think, young people who are like 8 to 12. And it talks about all sorts of stuff, huge information about bodies and shame and consent. They talk about consent, they talk about masturbation, and the third book, which hasn't been written yet, is actually going to then dig into sexual intercourse specifically. So it's this really beautiful tiered approach, and I think that he has kind of hit the nail on the head with how to talk about these things at different stages. We don't have to necessarily be talking about sexual intercourse at 5. If your kid has questions, I'm a huge proponent of like answering those questions, but you don't have to talk about all of the specifics, except for they do want to know how a baby is made. And so like talking about those body parts and what those body parts hold and how those body parts fit together and how that makes a baby, I think is really powerful. And I think that, then as you get older, kids need to know, and kids will know. It's just a matter of how they find out. I can't imagine what my life would have been like if someone had told me how my body worked. Still to this day, I learn things about my body that I'm like, are you kidding me? That like, when I ovulate, my temperature goes up by a degree? Like, why didn't anybody tell me? It's like my body is like a science experiment that no one taught me. And that is really not cool. It's like, it's as cool as it is for me to learn it now. I'm 36 years old and I'm thinking, wow, what would it have been like to be a 12-year-old to learn like, oh, I got my period and this is what's happening inside of my body and this is what it means and this is what it would mean for my future. That stuff, I think, is everything to young people, and I don't think that there's too much for them to know. My MO is like, if they have the question, they're old enough to have the answer. So, and I think Corey, the books that I just talked about, Sex is a Funny Word and What Makes a Baby, are really helpful tools for parents to have those conversations, because not all of us have the tools to have those conversations easily, and I think those materials sort of bridge that gap for a lot of families.